Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another day of Beyond the Summit broadcast action. I'm your host, LD, of course, of Beyond the Summit and Dota Commentaries. Delighted to be bringing you this particular game. For anyone who's wondering what the heck you're watching, this is the GEST Dota 2 playoffs. Armageddon, a Singaporean team, perhaps not well known, but they did make it through the group stages. They did qualify, and there were some decent teams that did not qualify. I think a good example would be Flash Esports, who's been doing pretty well, even made it into the G1 League, and, you know, maybe not quite at the level of the top teams in Asia, but certainly has done pretty well overall, and, well, they did not make it through the group stages. They won't be here, but one team that has is Armageddon. Let's give a little context to this match real quickly. So we are in round one right now. We're in our quarterfinals action. It's all single elimination. It is best out of three. That's the format we're looking at. So two Singaporean teams, the TI3 champs, or Zenith Esports, as they like to be known. They're sort of all over the place with the names these days. 1v5, Zenith, TI3 champs, whatever they feel like basically on any given Sunday is what they'll be using. But for today, we will be going through round one. By the time today's action is over, there are three more matches to be played. They'll all be played today, and then we'll be done with our quarterfinals, and we will know exactly who's going to be in the double elimination, or excuse me, in the final four, in that semifinals round. And MEFC versus First Departure will be the next match coming up on this particular stream. Godz will be casting Orange versus Mineski. That starts in about 3 hours' time. That'll be over at twitch.tv/GESTIDC. So if you want to catch that Orange versus Mineski game, I think two of the more popular teams out there, then Godz will be your streamer for that. He'll be your caster for that. And again, you can find that at twitch.tv/GESTIDC. As for this game, let's take a look at the draft. For the most part, pretty standard bans. Darkseer, Naga, Batrider, TA were our first four bans for both teams. This opens up the TI3 champs to go for, well, some cheesy split-pushing global-style action. Is there any chance we'll see a Spectre? Is there any chance we'll see a Wisp combo of some kind? I say probably not, since they ban out Tiny. I figure if you're going to go for global, you go all in with global. But Armageddon has picked a very strong here to counter this kind of mobility, and that's the Disruptor. Glimpse, incredibly annoying to deal with. Well, speaking of global mobility, Keeper of the Light provides some. Gives you that recall ability, lets you bring your teammates hither and thither, wherever you might like over the course of the game. And the response from Armageddon is just more stuns, more team fighting presence, and more damage. They don't care about the mobility of Zenith. They're not worried about getting split push. They just said, okay, we're going to dive you into your towers, and we're going to kill you while you're busy trying to farm your Boots of Travel and Tinker, trying to get that Midas or that mechanism online on the Prophet. And the TI3 champs look a bit lacking on heroes that can actually fight. I do see a lot of chit-chat in the chat about... there's a mouthful for you. A little chit-chat in the chat about whether Ice is playing. He is not playing. He's currently on a plane to Malaysia, from what I understand, unless he had any delays, which, knock on wood, hopefully didn't. He will be standing in for Orange Esports. Well, not stand. He's sort of their permanent stand-in for the event, but he'll be playing for them at G1 League. So he's traveling to Malaysia. I think they're going to boot camp for a day or two, and then presumably fly over to China. Speaking of the G1 League, I saw some people also asking, when are the finals? When are more G1 League matches happening? Good question, guys. It's actually happening this Saturday. November. God, it's already November. I was about to say October or September, but no, November 17th. So it's happening this Saturday. That will be when the two semifinals matches are played, and then that'll be followed up on Sunday by your grand finals and your third place decider. So Orange won't actually, we won't be having Ice in this game. We have King, formerly of Aeon, standing in here. Seems like he might be a semi-permanent replacement. We've seen him play for them a couple of times already. And then tsuwamon, if I recognize his name, this is Mr. Dig. I'm not sure who nutz is. Let's actually see if we can look that up real quickly. This appears to be... oh, another player from Aeon. Okay, it's Nutz from Aeon as well. So, really just Zenith and Aeon sleeping together a little bit, I gotta say. These guys are intermingling quite a bit. As for the draft, Zenith go for another great split pushing hero, especially as far as carries go, in the Phantom Lancer. Elusive, mobile, and also pushes quickly once he gets his items up. Gives you a really annoying tri-lane combo as well. Rubik, Keeper of the Light, Phantom Lancer. Looks to be a tri-lane for those three. Probably a Tinker solo mid and a Prophet off lane. If they run it that way, if that's how they choose to lane it, this Zenith lineup is kind of weak against dual lanes. You run a dual lane in that safe lane. Maybe Queen of Pain plays the off lane, and then Jakiro Sven, Disruptor +1. You could be looking at some early kills. Disruptor in that safe lane versus Prophet is actually quite strong. If you time a glimpse right, he's not going to be able to TP away. You can also kinetic field, hold him in place, and then you would just need someone else to combo with him, and there you go. There's your combo. I don't actually know that we're going to see the dual lanes. It looks like a solo mid Magnus, a safe lane Queen of Pain, and then an offensive tri-lane. Could be an off-lane Queen of Pain. Not sure that's the best choice, though. She will not have a great time against Keeper of the Light and Phantom Lancer. Armageddon go for the Sven Magnus combo. We're going to see some big crits. We're going to see some big AoE cleaves coming out from this team. And yes, those cleaves do stack, which means Sven hits hard and he kills creeps quickly. Assuming he gets the farm, which remains to be seen. If it's offensive tri-lane, you don't always get it. But I like this draft from Armageddon. It really picks at the weak spot of TI3 Champs lineup, which is the laning stage and their ability to clash directly. TI3 Champs, they don't want to fight you head on early on. They want to spam you from long distance with Fade Bolt, with Illuminate, of course with the Phantom Lance as well. They want to be dropping March of the Machines. They want to be split pushing. Armageddon say, okay, we're just going to fight you head on. We're going to dive you at your towers. We're going to dominate the lanes early. We're going to be aggressive before you get to that critical mass of levels and items where we just can't keep up with you. So let's go ahead and introduce the underdogs, the up-and-coming Singaporean team, Armageddon. Aretel, we'll call it Aretel, is playing that Disruptor. Faker on the Queen of Pain. L Smurf on the Jakiro. Joe Lint on the Sven. Insidious C playing that Magnus, or the Magnetor. Magnus. He's playing the Magnetor. Rubik, meanwhile, handled by tsuwamon, formerly of Aeon, handling what looks to be, looks like a support Rubik. xfreedom, of course, the support player from Zenith at TI2. He'll be playing that Keeper of the Light, and are we going to see action right away? Uh-oh, tsuwamon, this is bad. Rubik has that low base move speed, it's only 290, this should be our first blood. Caught out of position, will be brought down, and the first blood claimed by the Sven. A nice pickup for Armageddon, and just sloppy positioning overall from him. But let's introduce the rest of the players for Zenith while we have a quick moment. XY playing that Phantom Lancer. Kane as the, again, also a player from Aeon. He's playing that solo mid Tinker. And then, as expected, the off-lane Prophet, the other Aeon player. This should be Team Aeon, honestly. But Nutz will be handling that Prophet. And has gone for the null talisman. Just wants to focus on his last hitting. Not worried about regen. Not worried as much about just having to tank and TP away. It's just going to be going for the maximum possible damage. Maybe an early Dagon as well. We'll have to see what he builds this into. But just a null talisman. It's pretty cost effective if you don't expect too much harassment, which would be the case if there's a Queen of Pain there. But the Queen of Pain is mid, and Magnetar not the best at harassing. So we'll see. And I just remembered that my roommate is sleeping. It is 5 a.m. So I'm going to try and keep the volume down just a touch. Just a wee little bit. And that's a good idea. Thank you, Jaren. I will do that. We have ourselves a quick pause, quick reconnect. I am missing a very important logo, which I should be able to add right now, and hopefully I don't miss too much action while I'm doing this. Don't go kill each other. Don't go kill each other. Yes, of course, Dota Talk is your coverage partner for this event, so if you want to find out, and they're sort of organized the tournament as well. So big shout out to Jaren, who's been organizing all the games. Here we go, bottom lane. Ice Path is going to connect on Rubik, on the tsuwamon. You'll notice Magnetar using his illusions to ensure they can't be stacking these camps. As we get back, sort of focusing in on the game now. This is an offensive tri-lane, but it's an offensive tri-lane that's playing pretty much in the dark. They have warded off the camp. You can see this ward here. Multiple sentry wards placed, and I don't even know if they... I think they haven't really had a chance to go looking for this because the lane wasn't pushed, but I want to say... I think it's just out of range. If this ward had been placed more over towards this side, Could have caught it, but then you won't be able to see the magic bush necessarily. Yikes. That is a big blunder by Zenith. 2 wards placed, and they don't really want to sit in the lane. These heroes need to be pulling. Rubik in particular. Keeper of the Light doesn't want to be close. You don't want to be trading blows. Once they hit level 2, an Ice Path, the Dual Breath, and the follow-up nukes, you're dead. You're just not living through that, and frankly, tsuwamon's getting a little feisty for my taste, but so far, they do have the creeps pushing out. They do have a little bit of a creep equilibrium advantage, and, well, they seem to be okay for the moment. As far as our other 2 lanes go, Nutz up on the top lane, laning against Insidious C as the Magnetar. Prophet with an old Talisman versus a Magnetar. Both heroes are going to get their farm. Nobody should die. Shouldn't be a whole lot going on here. Except the one thing that we can look to see is the Prophet. And this is always dangerous, but you run an offensive tri-lane, you're doing it against a Prophet who can punish that. But if he gets a quick level 6, if you haven't gotten kills, the lane doesn't look too good for you. In the middle lane, it's King playing the Tinker, and he's going up against Queen of Pain. So far, farm is quite even, actually. Both players doing a nice job. You'll notice that, interestingly, King has not taken a single point in laser, which generally you want to take 1 point so that you can trade blows with Queen of Pain, so you can last hit effectively. Sentry Ward is dropped, but the kinetic field is going to miss, and that is a pretty big mistake. Double damage rune up on Freedom. They pull back in L Smurf. Stormbolt is going to fly out XY. Really disjointed focus fire from Armageddon. Not sure who they want to work on. The Phantom Lance bringing Jolin low. He will survive. He will not survive because Prophet is here. Nutz TP's in. He might drop for this, though. He might pay XY with another Phantom Lance. Constant spam. Illuminate will secure that kill. And before you know it, the tri-lane is in a lot of trouble. The good news is, Prophet was forced to join this fight, which means Magnetar can push this lane. Well, he could push the lane, except there's treants here. And on the bottom lane, even more aggression. In they go on to tsuwamon, who does a great job throwing Jakiro up onto the hill at the cost of his own life. But at the very least, he's going to waste some time. So both teams just trading kills. This is just insane aggression. XY dropping low. XY has not gone for Doppelwalk yet. I think he's taken stats, just going for the extra HP. I guess saw the Sentry Wards, figured it wouldn't help him, but you do get some move speed from that. He doesn't have to keep them alight. This is a little bit curious to see this skill build. I don't expect to see more than a single point or 2 of stats. You don't really want to overdo it. If you get too many points in stats, then you get to the mid-game, you don't have the mobility, and Doppelwalk also creates illusions, which can help you to create a big army through that juxtapose. So a few points in stats is okay, but you don't want to go overboard. Still very curious. Now he will go back for it. Nothing too unusual. So far, a bit of trouble for Armageddon in this lane. Gold-wise, they have a slight lead, and it looks like they're going to go onto a Riddle, onto Stormbolt, not sufficient. Whenever that support is missing, that's when they get aggressive. They have the +1 with the Prophet. He's level 5 already, maxing Nature's Call first. As you would expect, this means they can push this tower very hard. And Armageddon, just giving up those few early kills, you really can't afford to do it against these heroes, against a Prophet, and a Tinker who isn't being shut down. Queen of Pain's having a good time as well. But if you're not shutting down the Tinker, that means the Boots of Traveler coming fairly soon, and then it's the 2 global heroes with a team full of pushing supports and a carry that is not easy to bring down. This is going to be annoying. Armageddon, for the moment, haven't lost the tower, but it just feels like they have no momentum. Generally, when we see the Chinese team struggle in a tri-lane, they'll go for a smoke gank, they'll rotate out of the lane. If you just sit here and farm, well, it's not going to work. You're going to get ganked, you're going to get picked off, and then you're going to start losing towers. Disruptor is a tri-lane hero. We understand why they picked him, right? Because you have heroes like Tinker, like Prophet, with that global mobility. We're going to see lots of TPs around the map. FaZe has rotated down here, maybe looking to set up a kill. They have 4 heroes here, but again, Prophet has the ult. Is working for that quick Midas. He'll have it soon. And we still haven't seen the Magnetar get too involved in this game. Just farming, pushing away top. In comes the Illuminating Blast, bringing Sven low. Now, Phaser is going to rotate out, and right as that happens, the Stormbolt gets thrown in. Ice Path as well. On to tsuwamon, blinking in his phase. Queen of Pain ult will connect, brings down XY. Stun on 2, telekinesis throwing 1 up in the air, back onto the Twin-Headed Dragon, and L Smurf will drop. It's a hasted cane. It's the drive-by from the Tinker. who is now tagged up as Zenith. So I guess he is one of their official members, the others perhaps not. Ay. You run this offensive tri-lane, you gotta get kills. Disruptor just not the best aggressive tri-lane support. Really needs quite a few levels before he can be effective. It mostly comes down to just catching someone out of position, glimpsing them back into the kinetic field, but the coordination just wasn't perfect. We saw a few mistakes here and there. And then we saw the power of Prophet to punish offensive tri-lanes. If you don't shut down the Prophet before he hits level 6, even before he hits level 4 or 5, it just gets almost impossible. In comes a wild Magnetar. Looks like he already used Skewer. Did not. You dropped the reverse polarity, though. And the Keeper of the Light Blast actually going to bring down Queen of Pain. Oh, that should not happen. That should never happen. Oh, boy, that's unfortunate. Armageddon just getting pulled apart so far on this laning stage. And remember, they picked a lineup that, as great as it is at team fighting, as great as it can be in theory later on in the game, it gets really hard to find those team fights once the Boots of Travel are up, once the Prophet's got his Midas, starting to get his mech, and also reliant on burst damage, which a quick mechanism can really punish. And we're probably going to see one, whether it's the Keeper of the Light, whether it's the Prophet who goes back for it. Either way, they're going to have one fairly quickly. Again, this is game number 1 as I see a bunch of people. Arctunian Kane gonna get picked off in the middle lane. A crucial kill as he was up to, looks like about 1,400, 1,500 gold. They gotta delay those Boots of Travel. They have not done a good job of slowing down the Prophet at all. He is our lead farmer this game. And that's without any towers. The Midas is paying off. Speaking of that Prophet, ult will be thrown into another lane to bounce back on the phase. Maximum damage from Nutz. Finds a solo kill. And Disruptor's Glimpse was apparently on cooldown, and that's where Prophet looks to strike. Normally, if you TP in there, he's just going to glimpse you back, but had already used it to set up the kill in the Tinker mid, and well, it's got a pretty long cooldown. Even when you max it, it's still 30 seconds. Got to make those glimpses count. Prophet just lurking in the wings. We might even see the Dagon this game. Honestly, it would not surprise me at all. I think it's a legitimate choice against heroes like Queen of Pain, who, you know, if you don't kill them instantly, suddenly they're blinking away, they're turning the fight around. You just want to make sure they die fast, and, well, Dagon helps you to do that. Nice skewer in to start things off, and a reverse polarity is going to catch him out. XY, then caught by the Ice Path. They have Dust, they're not using it. Oh, that is big. That reverse polarity has a very long cooldown. Armageddon just really don't seem to be on the same page this game. I'm not sure. You know, maybe one of the players is speaking Russian, another Chinese, a third English. I'm not sure what's going on. Perhaps they're just not talking at all, but whatever the case is, the coordination is severely lacking for these guys and costing them kills, costing them opportunities to control this game, and TI3 champs doing a decent job of taking advantage so far. Kane getting very close to those Boots of Travel. Remember, Tinker was indirectly buffed a few patches ago when... Well, here we go. They want Tinker. The Skewer him back. That's what they want to do, but they get stunned. They get burst down. One will fall. Next in line, look at the insane burst damage, and Joe Lint just cannot pull it off. In comes FaZe, looking for the backstab. This Queen of Pain wants to go. Wants to find Freedom. Most likely going to break up momentarily. Will do so. Catches out Freedom, but the Scream whiffs. Ice Path to follow. That one will connect. Now the level 1 Shadow Strike, just to slow him down. Looking to deny to creep. Meanwhile, Kane has the rockets. Rockets will fly. Do not chase units that have... I thought you could dodge that with Blink, but apparently you cannot. Well, the rocket follows him anyway. He may have actually blinked right... I think he actually blinked right after, or right before the rocket was cast. It was just a very late rocket. So that would explain it. The animation got a little funky, so then I got confused, but... Well, he barely escapes, but... Again, just Armageddon not firing on all cylinders and being punished for it. Phantom Lancer is now starting to pick up his own farm as he's been left alone, and this is just not a lane Sven can just stand in and farm. He's okay at the tower, but when you leave the tower, that's where Phantom Lancer... That Phantom Lance, once it's max, or Spirit Lance, rather, just does so much damage and is so spammable, and once you get a Soul Ring, you get Tranquil Boots. That's normally what we see, but he's gone for Treads, Arena Basilius, which made sense when it was tri-lane versus tri-lane, but not as good for Harassy 1v1 now. In comes FaZe. Oh, no, not FaZe. Excuse me, Faker. God, that always confuses me. But, yeah, Faker comes in, has the Dust. They want to gank this Phantom Lancer. But you notice the lane ward is going to spot that out. Prevent that gank from being effective. And that's something that's really lacking for Armageddon in general. They just don't have the wards. come the rockets. Something stolen. This is a shockwave. What a spell to steal. That shockwave, 300 damage, 7-second cooldown. And great range. As though they needed more split push, as though they needed more AoE. tsuwamon is going to last hit the tower. He's getting close to a 4-staff or a blink dagger. And where is the trade-off right now for this Armageddon team? They're just not finding one so far. Invisverin picked up by Smurf, and they go on the bottom lane. They want to burst down Sven, and it's just too much stuff. Queen of Pain ult gets thrown, and then the Stormbolt stolen back. Stormbolt does follow Queen after she blinks. You cannot dodge that one with blink. Doesn't matter, though. She was dead anyway. Smurf with the Invisverin almost died inside of the March. It looks like he may even die to it yet. Might have even eaten an illuminating blast while he was at it. And the siege begins. And Armageddon, as much killing power as they have, they just can't stand and fight. The recall onto XY, they just gonna continue to fuel this aggression. And speaking of fueling the aggression, it's a Dagon. It's a 12-minute Dagon Midas for this Prophet. In comes Smurf. He's got to know he's gonna die for this. He will get tsuwamon. The tower's still alive. Maybe he won't die. This would be an epic hero Jakiro if he's able to get away. They even get XY as well, turning this fight around. And Aretal looks to survive. He should escape. Unbelievable. TP'd out. Got away in the end. Was able to dodge those waiting arms of Natsu. Looks like he was trying to find that Jakiro. TP'd in. Was not able to do so. They've held on to some of their outer towers. Surprisingly, they haven't lost the other two. They haven't lost the mid-tier one. They haven't lost the bottom tier one, but you gotta expect it's just a matter of time. Zenith have so much ability to apply pressure around the map. It makes life difficult. Tinker, you'll notice, has started to stack up those Ancients. Might have had a teammate doing it for him. And he's gonna have his 4-staff soon. So we've got a Dagon of the Prophet. We've got a 4-staff coming out for Tinker. And it's a good time to sort of do a general item check. Where are the items for Armageddon? Who's building something? Queen of Pain could have a point booster. Could work towards a BKB. That's about it for her. Jakiro has the headdress up. Yeah, I guess a mechanism. There's so much burst damage you can't count on getting it off, especially with this Dagon on the field, but the big worry, the Sven not farming. The Magnetar only has a Soul Radiant Treads, was left alone in his lane for a long portion of this game. Should have a Blink Dagger by now.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
And the siege continues. They get pick off the tier 1 bottom, and you'll notice that XY did it without even moving the hero forward. Very smart play. Just keeps the hero back, lets the illusions work the tower down. Didn't get the last hit, but plays it much safer. And then Rubik steals that Scream of Pain. So many good abilities. Glimpse on King, not timed properly. Kinetic Field wasn't in the right spot either. And that little engagement isn't looking too promising. How do Armageddon engage? Who's going to go in first? Do they Warcry run through this March? I don't think they can. They're not tanky enough. They're not survivable enough. And that means that Zenith can aggressively position themselves mid and farm. They couldn't have done this if they had a bad start. They could have done this if they lost the lanes. Or if they broke even in the lanes, it would have been tough. Here comes FaZe. No, Shadow Strike onto the illusion. Not gonna have enough damage anyway, unless Magnetar is here. And he is not. Armageddon just, you know, it gets to a point in the game where somebody's just got to make a play. They've got to get something going. Your team needs momentum to be effective, and Zenith have all the momentum in the world. There's been a couple of nice individual plays, but Jakiro finding a solo kill on Rubik, that's not really momentum. You need to find a way to kill a Prophet, kill a Tinker, get a tower, get something a little more significant out of this game. So far, they just haven't done it, and, well, it just got harder to do because King's got his 4-staff up. Surprisingly, I guess he's hunting for someone, and they go onto Jolin, top lane, Prophet's TPing out. Actually, it's onto Synods they go. Macropyre's there. Look how low the Phantom Lance brings him, as well as just a couple of auto attacks, and he'll actually die. Oh boy, that is not a tanky Sven. Very unusual. And an XY able to escape. There's no more dust on Faker. That's unfortunate. Now the Mono Leak ending, halting that aggression. Rubik comes in, wants to go on Smurf. Here comes tsuwamon, and the Magnetar whiffing on the skewer, completely whiffing. Now they want this Rubik. They should be able to get him. He's actually going for what looks to be a pipe. Queen of Pain ult is there. The deny is made by xfreedom. What a play from xfreedom. Meanwhile, the backstab from XY going in, finds FaZe, maybe wants another, but Magnetar still has that reverse polarity. And this is just brutal to watch. He keeps on missing the skewers, and then You know, if you hit your skewers, Magnetar is a pretty good initiator, but without it, just not at all. And you know, this is why you still want to go for the Blink Dagger, unless you're playing a carry Magnetar. He really needs that instant, reliable gap closer. Skewer can be juked, it can be dodged, and it doesn't have quite the range that a Blink does. Freedom back into the spirit form, just continue to farm up in the jungle. XY getting very close to Diffusal Blade. This is the beauty of the new Phantom Lancer. With the higher agility gain, you don't really need to go for Radiance. And you don't want to against all this cleave, which is one of the big reasons why Armageddon got the cleave, was to deal not just with the treants. Well, are they really going to go on this? They want to bring down XY. XY's dropping low. Will they be able to kill him off, though? The Sprout actually pushed out by Blinding Light, but Monolink is going to bring Jolent low. Dagon is here as well. Now the Magnetar jumps in, finally nails that reverse polarity, the cleave, the AoE damage. It's too much, and XY forced to run away. XY not in a good position here. The rocket splash in from the back lines. Do they have vision of him? It doesn't look like they do. Now FaZe in some trouble. The rockets flying in again. A second wave of rockets. Now back onto Faker, and he will fall as well. Ay, ay, ay. Score is now 18-12. Lots of back and forth. Al Smurf is going to drop the huge AoE combo, and XY's down to 30 HP, 20 HP, 10 HP, and he'll live. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. The luck on this guy. Maybe, I'm just kidding. I think he even microed his treads to strength, just to give him a tiny bit of extra HP there. Doesn't really change your HP too much when you're down to 50, but every little bit can help. Rubik has the Invis Rune, rotating through the enemy jungle. He's not going to find any kills. Maybe just wants to steal a good spell and then get the hell out of there. Or will he? Here comes the cavalry. Here comes the backup. And this is just the mobility of Zenith we talked about in the pregame. Armageddon a bit lacking in that respect. Sure, they've got some chase inside of fights, but around the map, they don't have the most. And Rubik will be able to dodge away there. And then he'll die anyway. We'll pay for that one. XY comes in, wants to go on Faker. Has the Diffusal Blade up, uses the charge. The chase is over, though. On the other side of play, it's Nutz dropping low. Nutz sprouting one, needs to get another. Dagon, not going to be enough. Just a defiant Dagon as he falls. The sieging power of Zenith strong, but Armageddon finding more picks than you would expect. Just Zenith getting a little overeager. TI3 champs playing a little bit too aggressively. One more Illuminate. That's not going to hit, but they do have this Diffusal Blade. Do they dive high ground? Thinking about it. Thinking about it. Skewered back into the tower, into the death. The Sven will pay, but they pick up the kill in Phantom Lancer. Not really a bad trade. Just absolute chaos this game. 36 kills. We are only 19 minutes in, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the GEST Dota 2 action, presented by Dota Talk and brought to you by Beyond the Summit. And as I'm saying that, Taker will fall as well. TI3 champs playing this one, frankly, like a pub. Just diving for kills, chasing really aggressively, and, well, just pulling really far ahead. Over 10k gold advantage. Still sitting around a 7-8k experience advantage. Pretty significant stuff. A lot of that gold comes down to towers. It also just comes down to superior farming, which, to some extent, can be expected. Tinker, Prophet, great farming heroes. At the same time, you do have a Sven. You have a Magnetar who can farm quite well. The supports, Twin-Headed Dragon, not a bad farmer, but it's just when you're chasing TI3 champs around the map, this is a team that doesn't have the global mobility. So just by default, if you spend time running around, they're going to out-farm you. If you're just sitting there farming, you can keep up, but when you have to move this much, which is what TI3 champs has been forcing, you're going to fall behind and farm. Still not sure how Armageddon actually break out to the enemy side of the map. Still not sure how they really claim some control over this game. Looks like Magnetar's going for a BKB, which is an interesting choice. It's not going to help you against the Martial Machine. It will make him pretty resistant to everything else, however. It's just odd to see. If you want to initiate, I feel like a Blink Dagger is going to be your best bet. Just blink in. Now, there is March to walk through, so you can't always count on it, but this is an interesting choice. We'll see how it works out. They're going for 2 BKBs and then an Aghanim Scepter on the Queen of Pain. It looks like could be a BKB for her as well. Just trying to get multiple BKBs up and charge into TI3 champs. in the mid game. That's going to be their game plan. Use that Warcry to get close. Use the Skewer to close the distance. And then it all comes down to one big reverse polarity, a big Stormbolt to follow it up. XY's in a tiny bit of trouble here. No, Queen of Pain's gonna blink away. Now the Phantom Lancer will just... You can just see the harassment. This is... You know, again, even as a carry, Phantom Lancer is a long-range harassment type carry at this stage of the game. You throw Phantom Lance, your Illusion's mana burning, and you don't even have to really commit. You just sit back, you keep on chucking those lances in. You always have the mana because of Keeper of the Light. And it just makes life really annoying. Split Push is the name of the game for TI3 Champs. They've got the Shadow Blade up on the Prophet, going for this ganker-style build. Frankly, questionable, but they are getting some standard items up on Tinker. We're not seeing mass Dagons. We're only seeing a few. We have the Ultimate Orb. We have the Force Staff up. Looks like a Scythe of Ice coming soon.
Too bad.
And just look at the positioning on the map for TI3 Champs. They always seem to have one hero in each lane, pushing past the river, farming past the river. And if you rotate top to try and go gank one, they're just going to go push bottom instead. This is the struggle of dealing with a mobile global lineup when you don't have a Wisp. You don't have a global option of your own. If it's executed correctly, you're pretty much helpless at this point in the game. That's generally why we see teams either pick really strong dual lanes, strong offensive tri-lanes, and win those lanes. And that's how they beat the global lineups before they get going. Or you beat them by picking a hero that can just counter gank really effectively, getting a Prophet on your team, getting a Wisp on your team. Joe Lin trying to TP away, Prophet ult will bounce through. He actually escapes. Pretty big play from him. Even with the Prophet ult, the Dagon, and 3 heroes forced. But there's a much lower opportunity cost for TI3 Champs. When they go for a gank and it fails, no big deal. Your Prophet ult doesn't have that long of a cooldown. Tinker can just go back to base, rearm, refuel, and come right back to the fight. Even a hero like Phantom Lancer, sure, maybe he walked up to this top lane, but he can always be recalled somewhere else, so they can afford to go for ganks and fail without really falling behind in gold or experience, whereas Armageddon can't. For them, it's a much bigger investment. Gold graph continues to climb. We're now looking at a 12k lead, and as far as experience goes, sitting around 8-9k. Pretty significant lead across the board. Blink Dagger up on the Rubik, and along with that big gold lead, we expect to see big items. That's what we're seeing. Double Force Staff, Shadow Blade, Blink Dagger. Already they're the more mobile lineup, but now they've got several mobility items to couple up with that. Prophet did TP in bottom. Wanted to set up a Killer Queen of Pain, not able to do so. Just a rather slow turn of events. I think we had 36 kills at about 19 minutes in. It's been 5 minutes. We've had maybe 1 or 2 kills since then. Just not much action, and this is going to favor... Well, Zenith are getting really close to some huge items. They're getting close to a Scythe of Ice on the Tinker. That is by far the biggest one. They're getting close to what looks to be a Manta-style or possibly a Lincoln Sphere, but I'm guessing a Manta-style on XY. That is another big item. Aside from that, they don't have too much more to farm for. Like, aside from items they're going to take a while to complete. Armageddon, they have the BKB up on Magnus. They should have a BKB up fairly soon on Sven. Just has completed it. Has not sent it to himself yet. And we're going to have to see, is the mass BKB is going to be effective against Zenith? It just comes down to catching multiple heroes in a reverse polarity. But how do you do that when the enemy team has 2 Force Staffs? They've got a Blink Dagger. They've got a generally pretty fast hero in the Phantom Lancer. You've got Prophet with the Shadow Blade. Hitting a good reverse polarity, hitting a good Stormbolt is not going to be easy. And if they whiff their combo, that's pretty much it. Armageddon don't have a plan B because this happens. The March gets spammed, the siege progresses, and there's just not a whole lot you can do about it. Nice TP in by XY on the bottom lane, denies the tower. Faker, maybe anticipating a glyph there. Sorry, Glyph was on cooldown, so I guess he wasn't. But just not able to get it. And Tower Gold that Armageddon desperately needed. That one really hurts. Not getting the Tower Gold when you're this far behind. Or not getting the full amount. Pretty big loss. Oh no. Oh no, he just fought his BKB. This is not how he wants to use it. The drive-by. Pew, pew, pew. Not from the Tinker as expected, but from Nutz, of all players.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to hear that Tinker pew pew pew. God, it's satisfying. Oh man, I love my laser beams. Now they get the tier 2 mid, and this is the last outer tower for Armageddon. They've all fallen, and we might even see a Roshan soon from TI3 champs. So cheesy, going for the Maelstrom at this is your ultimate glass cannon anti-utility profit build. This is about as unuseful to the team as you can possibly get, at least in terms of directly helping them. But what you can do is sit at fountain, spam your ult, and good luck ever leaving the base. Unfortunately for Armageddon, this game is unfolding pretty much exactly how I was concerned it would in the drafting stage. Just, they had to win that tri-lane. It really came down to that, and now the only way they win is if tier 3 champs make a big mistake. They don't really have to commit to a 5-man push either. It's not like you can count on catching them in a big reverse polarity. You have 4 or 5 heroes grouped up in this area, because they're not all going to be in one lane. We'll have 1 hero top, we'll have 1 or 2 mid, we'll have 1 or 2 bottom. You know, it's just unlikely. You might find 1 pick here or there, but good luck finding a lot. They should find 1 now. What's the smoke onto Kane? Kane looks to be dead. Does he have his Scythe of Ice yet? He hasn't bought it yet, up to 3,600. They're actually going to find 2. The ultimate used by Magnetar. But look what happens top. The push continues. So they get that kill. Can they get a tier 1 tower off of it? Not sure. Frankly, Rubik should not have died there. Tinker should have been the lone casualty of war, but just slow on the reactions. Got caught out by the Magnus. Bit of a mistake. Now XY might fall. Zenith just, you know, the potential to turn this game around. It had to come down to their mistakes. And, well, they're making quite a few so far. Jolin will TP away. Now the chase onto Magnetar. Skewer is available. Can Skewer just up the hill? Continues to run. Not sure what he's waiting for. Now he's going to try to TP out. Sprout is there. Barely escapes. Guys, you can run over to Rain with Skewer for anyone who's wondering, so might have been the safer option. Of course, this top lane is so pushed that, well, maybe it could have gotten caught from the side by Tinker. Aghanims is up. Good news for Armageddon. They also have this Ogre Club on the Queen of Pain, so it will be a BKB next. Going for mass HP, going for tons of stats. And now Sven picks up his Morbid Mask, needs to work towards... You know, he can get a Mask of Madness if he'd like, but it's a questionable item in this game. Just March will still go through your BKB. You're to take additional damage from Mask of Madness. I think you're much better off just getting some damage items. Maybe even just get an armlet. The Degen Aura is a fixed amount, and then go back for something like Mask of Madness a bit later on when you're tankier. But we'll see. He's going for that more of that chasing kind of glass cannon build, and we'll have to see if the glass cannon can be shattered or if it's going to continue to plink away. As far as our gold, as far as our experience scraps, well, it's the same story. Oh, getting close to that 20k mark for TI3 champs. And the action picking up top. XY might get caught. This is the one downside to split pushes. You're alone a lot of the time, and if your position isn't good, if it's not close to pristine, then these 4 or 5 hero ganks can pick you off. Zenith lacking for wards right now. They don't have a hill ward up. They have wards that are good to protect them in the lanes, but only in that mid lane, really. They don't have... What you want when you're pushing this top lane is a lane ward here, a ward on the hill, something over this way, something more aggressive postured towards the top lane that'll actually help you directly. tsuwamon's in a bit of a bad spot. This could be dangerous. He's got the blink, though, and he's got the double blink, I should say. Zenith, as well as their farming, they gotta breach this base defense, and so far have just not shown the level of coordination that we need from them if they want to do it. It's great to get this lead, it's great to have the global split push, but you gotta finish the game, you gotta finish the deal. And we continue to see them getting picked off, and at this point, it's a huge lead, but if they get picked off a little bit later in the game, and maybe when Armageddon gets more, you know, 3 or 4 kills, if Zenith really give that many up, then you're looking at giving away Roshan. More importantly, you're looking at giving away a lot of tower gold, because at this point in the game, when you have a Magnetar and you have a Sven, you're going to get 2-3 towers if you have 3-4 heroes dead on the enemy team. The pushing power between the cleaves, between the auto tech damage is too much. Oh, Magnetar need to get the hell out of there. It's time to skewer, but he's hexed up. He can't get away, and he will be brought down by the laser beam. And my cat wants in. She's meowing with excitement. She enjoys the laser beams as well, but we cannot allow her into this room because she is mad annoying. King trying to get away. He's got the Force Staff. He needs to use it now, but he's glimpsed back in. They got the vision. This will be the death of King. The counter kill taken at the cost of a BKB charge. The split push is happening. Middle lane. Tower being pressured in. Bottom lane. tsuwamon
Dire's middle tower is
pushing
under
that lane in a bit. So far, just I'm not convinced by the teamwork of TI3 champs that they're going to be able to win this game. They haven't gotten to tier 3 yet. They haven't actually scratched them yet. And we're not really seeing coordination from this team. They're getting picked off. They're not paying, it doesn't seem like they're paying as much attention to the map as they could be. The warding hasn't been the best. Would really like to see a gem up. That'll help them a lot to control the map, and it's generally what we see out of any team that gets far ahead these days. They definitely should win this game, being this far ahead, but they just haven't put the fights together. They haven't found the openings to get pickoffs. They've got they've got the Glass Cannon Prophet, who's mostly just being thwomped by a heavy mallet by the enemy team, by that Sven. XY gets caught out again, and he's in a lot of trouble. He will drop, and speaking of gems, guess who has one? It's El Smurf. Perhaps the TI3 champs have just underestimated their opponent. Armageddon, you know, obviously is not a well-known team. At least I have not heard of them playing in any events prior to this one. In Dota 2, at least nothing significant. But here they are, and it's the best out of 3. This is why we play the games, folks. This is why we play the games, because it ain't over until somebody actually seizes that victory. Nutz up to another 4.3k. What could he possibly be looking to buy now? I'm just going to go ahead and say maybe a Divine Rapier, maybe an Ethereal Blade, something along those lines. That's what we should expect to see from him based on the items he's bought so far.
Pull roots and run.
Would that be advisable? Probably not. I don't know about this build with the way that TI3 champs wanted to play. Generally, when you're playing the split push, kind of just spread your opponents apart, find pickoffs, and then get racks. You go for things more like Necronomicon 3, in particular, gives you just such a great ability to de-ward for free, and because you're Prophet, it's pretty easy. You can TP up onto cliffs if you need to, create treants up on top of them as well, and after a Sprout, and you can de-ward effectively, you can just push the lanes a little bit harder. Going for this Glass Cannon pickoff build, it sounds great until you realize, well, Armageddon are just never going to be caught by themselves. And the natural instinct for Zenith at this point is they can't seem to win via split push, so let's group up. Let's group up as 3, 4, 5, try and breach the high ground, or at least start sieging it. Of course, Phantom Lancer, probably the best carry in the game to siege. At least as far as melee carries go, because he just has the endless army of illusions. At the same time, they've done some chip damage, but they really have to be careful. The downside to sort of giving in to your natural instinct and grouping up is that's what Armageddon want. They would love for you to group up so they can blink in, reverse polarity, 4 or 5, Ice Path, Stormbolt on top of it. And now Sven with the Mask Madness and the Crystallis, we're getting to scary Sven time. We're getting to that point in the game where your Phantom Lancer illusions ain't living for long. If there's a crit on board, they're all going to die. Blink in, and unfortunately the Shadow Strike onto XY, who's now being recalled safely away from this lane to the top lane, about 3 feet away. Okay, there you go. Who needs Doppelwalk when you've got recall? They're doing a nice job of sieging this tower. I would really like to see Armageddon go for a smoke. You know, leave, say, the twin-headed dragon, maybe the disruptor back at base, send the other 3 on a wraparound mission. Go past this ward, try and backstab Zenith, and do it with your 3 tanky heroes. I don't think Zenith would be prepared for that at all. They've got these mobility items, but they've just been so far up. They've been sitting around here the whole time. You could easily backstab them, but so far, not choosing to do it. Looking at about a 20k gold lead, 8k experience lead so far. hasn't really gotten any worse for Armageddon, and at this point, it's not going to get worse unless they lose Rex, unless they lose a big team fight. There's no more outer towers to give away. And the Aeon Scepter, as we've talked about many times in the past, the perfect item on Queen of Pain to deal with, just to counter push. You can just spam that ult, kill off a massive creep wave, and then when you need it back up again, it's available. How does Zenith get over the hump? We will see. And the combo that we talked about earlier, not just the AoE, but also the extra damage Sven gets, it should be starting to come into effect. Now, for anyone who... Oh, no. He's forced to use another precious BKB charge, and he dies anyway. And he doesn't have buyback for another 100 gold. This is a kill they really didn't want to give up. I'm not sure that Zenith can actually go high ground, but they can keep all these lanes very far pushed in with that particular kill.
Pull roots and run.
To return to my previous point, Armlet is incredible in general on Sven because of God's Strength. Works off of your strength. It works off of your primary attribute. The tier 3 will fall bottom. And so too does that... Oh, solo kill Queen of Pain? Really? Actually, that was 2 heroes. But nonetheless, they find the pickoff. Nutz now skewered back inside of tower range, but it's just going to walk away. Walks away from the tower, dodges away. And once they got that kill in the Sven, you can just see Armageddon start to crumble. They couldn't afford to give up their one primary, their frontline tanker, their DPS stealer. In comes the tanker. Kane's getting aggressive, finding these solo kills. Now glimpsed back in. Into what, though? Into what? Into nothing so far. The Rex will fall bottom, and, well, this House of Cards perhaps had a slightly shaky foundation. It has now collapsed. They lose one lane of Rex. So once you lose one lane of Rex to a Prophet, to a Tinker, you're just not leaving your base. Jolin gets caught, gets burst down. Just not able to use that BKB. He will pop nothing. He's just mana burned down to nothing. And just gonna die. Meanwhile, at the fountain, it's Nuts diving the base. This game could go on for a while if Zenith continued to dive like that. But 3 heroes dead. They should be looking at a second lane of Rex fairly quickly. XY now with the Vitality boost up. Soon to have a heart, which would be a great item if he needed it. But with 2 lanes of Rex, that's pretty much it. Armageddon just out of gas. All of a sudden, Kane just everywhere at once. Finding all these solo kills. Not using a soul ring, but he'll get that kill in the Twin-Headed Dragon anyway. 2 lanes of Rex. Claim, XY. Manages to find that pick off on Sven. That was the moment when the dam broke. That was the moment when Armageddon just lost their ability to defend. They could have dealt with losing a couple of heroes. The Jakiro, the Disruptor, perhaps they can deal with that, but not having the Sven and him not having buyback, and him not having BKB anyway, there's no chance. With that Hex up on Tinker, you're never going to be able to get a kill. And Prophet also has a Hex. So the double Hex up. 3 lanes of Rex, up against the Tinker, up against the Prophet. Give Armageddon credit for not giving up, but you can book it, folks. This is over. We might see some big kills here. Maybe not. They skewer back into the tower. Meanwhile, Sven being occupied at base by these illusions. Now the Storm Bolt, which was stolen by Aratel. Aratel dropping low. Sven charging in. 3 auto attacks will find the kill. But you can just see how quickly the March Machines kills you. Mask of Madness, BKB. Doesn't matter. March the Machines will absolutely ruin you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Zenith, or the ambitiously named TI3 champions, as they're calling themselves here today, they will take game number 1 versus Armageddon. This is a best out of 3, though, so don't go anywhere. Don't you leave those seats? Well, leave your seat if you want to get some water, get some coffee, but we will be coming back in a few moments' time with game number 2 in this best out of 3. The Singaporean upstarts Armageddon fighting for their playoff lives in the GEST Dota 2. And of course, you've been watching Beyond the Summit. I'm LD, I'm your host. Thank you all very much for joining me. Presented to you by Beyond the Summit, brought to you by Dota Talk. If you enjoy this tournament, if you want to know more about it, go check out dotatalk.com. You can follow GEST as well, facebook.com/GEST Dota 2. But for now, we're going to take a quick break, so when we come back, it'll be game number 2, Zenith leading Armageddon 1-0.